The afternoon sun cuts across your living room floor, casting warm golden rectangles over the quiet corners of your home. Everything is still, save for the faint rhythmic ticking of a clock and the gentle rustle of feathers from the corner of the room. There, inside a pristine enclosure, your budgie weans over the edge of a shallow ceramic dish. A single droplet of water catches the light, trembling on the tip of a beak before shattering against the surface in a sudden, frantic splash. To anyone watching, it looks like a scene of pure, innocent joy, a tiny creature indulging in a refreshing afternoon ritual. Feathers flaring, droplets flying in a sparkling arc. You smile, watching the miniature display of life, convinced you are providing a safe, happy sanctuary. But beneath the surface of that shallow water, a silent, ancient mechanism is quietly waking up. What looks like play is actually a desperate physiological reflex, and the water resting in that dish holds a danger you have never been told to look for. Most people believe that a happy bird is simply a bird that interacts with its environment, and that a splash in a water dish is the ultimate proof of a thriving pet. You look at the plastic clip-on bath or the heavy ceramic crock, and you see comfort, hygiene, and natural instinct at work. But most people don't realize that domestic environments often speak a completely different language than the one written in a budgie's genetic code. When your bird drops its head into that water, it isn't just washing away dust. It is plugging into an ancient hardwired survival program shaped by millions of years of evolution in the brutal, unforgiving interior of the Australian outback, a landscape where water is not a luxury but a deadly hazard. We assume that because water is life-giving, it is inherently safe. We assume that a domesticated bird, generations removed the wild, has forgotten how to panic. Yet, beneath the calm exterior of your living room, a profound disconnect exists. The very tools we offer to enrich our pets can inadvertently trigger responses meant for life or death crises, turning a simple routine into an invisible psychological and physical hazard. Understanding what is truly happening in those few moments of splashing changes everything about how you look at your tiny companion. This isn't just about changing a water bowl or adjusting a cage setup. It is about recognizing the silent language of vulnerability in an animal that cannot cry out or explain its distress. When you realize how easily an innocent habit can cross the line into chronic stress or physical peril, the way you care for your bird transforms forever. You will never look at that splash the same way again. By the end of this journey, you will possess the deep, hidden insights needed to protect your budgie from dangers that hide in plain sight, ensuring that every moment they spend in your home is truly safe, calm, and understood. If you have ever found yourself captivated by the quiet, mysterious world of your pets and want to uncover the hidden realities behind everyday animal behavior, take a quick moment to subscribe. We dive deep into the unseen details of animal psychology so you can understand the creatures who share your home on a whole new level. Deep inside the neural architecture of every domestic budgie lies the ghost of the Australian desert. For thousands of generations, their ancestors did not experience gentle filtered tap water in smooth plastic containers. They experienced sudden, violent monsoonal downpours that transformed bone-dry riverbeds into raging torrents within minutes. Imagine standing in a landscape where water does not trickle, it assaults. When a wild budgie encounters water in nature, it is almost always coupled with extreme atmospheric pressure drops, howling winds, and the terrifying roar of flash floods. When your budgie encounters standing water in a quiet, climate-controlled room, a phantom trigger goes off in its brain. The sudden frenzy of wing flapping and frantic splashing is not necessarily a sign of relaxed leisure. Often it is an ancestral panic response, a desperate attempt to wash away heavy, silt-laden mud before it dries and cements the flight feathers, or a frantic reaction to an unexpected aquatic hazard. The bird's heart rate spikes through the roof, pumping adrenaline through a body built for rapid escape, while you stand inches away, smiling at the cute bath time show. To truly understand the danger, you have to look closer past the feathers, past the skin, into the breathtakingly complex and delicate engineering of an avian respiratory system. Unlike mammals, which use a bellows-like lung system that expands and contracts, birds possess a unidirectional respiratory network connected to a vast array of air sacs spreading throughout their entire body bones. When a budgie aggressively thrashes in a shallow dish, microscopic water droplets are atomized into the air directly surrounding its beak and nares. Because an avian lung lacks the protective filtering mucus blankets found in human nasal passages, these fine aerosols bypass initial defenses with alarming ease. During moments of intense splashing, the bird's breathing rate accelerates exponentially due to physical exertion and nervous excitement. With every open beak gasp for air, microscopic moisture droplets are pulled deep into the primary bronchi and air sacs. What feels like a refreshing bath can silently introduce fluid into a system designed exclusively for dry air, creating the precursors to localized pulmonary distress and respiratory irritation that owners often misattribute to unrelated drafts or seasonal allergies. Consider the physics of keeping warm when you are coated in a layer of specialized down feathers designed to trap microscopic pockets of air. In the wild, an Australian budgie that bathes in the open sun relies on blistering ambient temperatures and fierce desert winds to evaporate moisture within seconds, restoring its thermal insulation before the temperature drops. Now place that exact same biological machinery inside a modern home, kept at a steady, comfortable 70 degrees Fahrenheit, often with air conditioning or central heating creating subtle, chilling drafts. When a budgie's plumage becomes completely waterlogged indoors, the trapped air pockets collapse instantly. The natural waterproofing oils on the feathers, which take hours to properly redistribute through preening, are overwhelmed. Without the intense direct thermal radiation of the sun, the wet feathers act as a cooling radiator, drawing heat away from the core body at an unsustainable rate. Within minutes of an innocent splash, the bird's internal body temperature can begin a dangerous descent, triggering subtle hypothermic shock while sitting completely still on a perching branch, shivering invisibly beneath a layer of heavy, damp plumes. We fill our pets' water dishes with the same tap water we pour for ourselves, trusting its cleanliness implicitly. But municipal water systems carry chemical treatments, chlorine, chloramines, and microscopic mineral deposits designed for human digestion, not for direct contact with sensitive avian mucous membranes and preening glands. When water sits in an open dish under the warm ambient light of a room, evaporation concentrates these minerals and chemical residues along the rim and bottom surface. As the budgie dips its head, bathes, and subsequently preens its feathers by running each plume through its beak, it ingests a concentrated cocktail of dissolved solids, biofilm precursors, and chemical sanitizers. Furthermore, plastic dishes develop microscopic scratches over time from cleaning and claws, creating microscopic breeding grounds where environmental bacteria multiply exponentially within hours. The water that looks crystal clear to the human eye can harbor a silent microbial load that slowly irritates the bird's delicate digestive lining and skin barriers every single time it attempts to stay clean. There is a fine, fragile line between a natural behavioral outlet and a compulsive psychological loop. Because captive budgies live in environments devoid of complex foraging challenges and vast territorial navigation, simple items like water dishes can become the focal point of displaced energy. When a bird lacks environmental stimulation, the act of bathing can morph into a compulsive ritual. The sensory overload of the splashing water triggers a rush of neurochemicals that temporarily distracts the bird from the monotony of cage life. The bird returns to the dish again and again, not out of hygienic necessity, but out of a psychological need for sensory engagement. This repetitive high-intensity splashing exhausts physical reserves, strains delicate wing muscles, and leaves the bird in a state of chronic, low-grade nervous fatigue. The caretaker sees an active pet, unaware that the activity is actually an exhaustion loop born from an understimulated mind trying desperately to interact with a static world. As you piece these hidden truths together, a completely different picture begins to emerge from behind the glass of the enclosure. That gentle, familiar splash is no longer just a simple snapshot of domestic happiness. It is an intersection of ancient desert survival instincts, fragile respiratory physics, thermal vulnerabilities, and modern chemical exposures. Every single element of the setup, the material of the dish, the temperature of the room, the frequency of the splashes, and the chemical composition of the water plays a hidden role in a delicate balancing act. The margin for error in an animal weighing barely 30 grams is razor thin, and the signs of distress are often masked by the very survival instincts that kept their ancestors alive across millennia of hardship. And then you realize the most profound irony of all. The danger was never the water itself, but our fundamental misunderstanding of what the water represents to the bird. When a budgie stands at the edge of that dish, panting slightly with flared wings, it is not enjoying a spa day designed for its comfort. It is performing an ancestral ritual of survival, fighting against an invisible flood in a cage that cannot accommodate its wild nature, breathing in invisible chemical mists and risking its thermal stability for the sake of a genetic memory etched into its DNA long before humans ever built a house. The danger is not that the water is wet. The danger is that we've invited a wild desert survivor into our homes, placed a miniature ocean in its path, and mistaken its ancient, instinctual panic for pure, simple joy. The afternoon sun slowly shifts across the living room floor and the golden light fades into the quiet shadows of the evening. The room grows still once more, the surface of the water dish in the corner finally calm, smooth, and motionless. Your budgie sits quietly on a high perch, preening its feathers in the dim light, entirely unaware of the ancient, invisible currents that just swept through its mind. You look at the enclosure again, but the view is entirely transformed. The illusion of the simple pet store scene has vanished, replaced by a quiet, profound awareness of the wild heart beating inside your home. A reminder that even the smallest, most familiar moments carry depths we are only just beginning to understand. What subtle behavior in your own pets has completely surprised you once you looked closer at it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.